Hey folks, as many of you know, 5 years ago I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. 3.5 years ago, the doctor told me I had stage 4 metastatic cancer that would kill me within 5 to 7 years. The clock is ticking. Now, if he's right, I have somewhere between 1.5 years and 3.5 years to go. Now, since many of you have been asking how I'm doing, I want to give you an update on the cancer and what it's like, and then just living with the finishing line in sight. Now, I also want you to hear my wife's journey these past few years as well, and that is why she's here with me today.
Hey.
Now, technically, she does not have cancer. Just like technically, I have never been pregnant. But I did experience her pregnancy just as she is now experiencing my cancer. I remember I was in a staff meeting a number of years ago, and one of the women in the room said, I wish that just once men could experience what pregnancy is like. A friend of mine who had 4 kids responded, oh, we do. Folks, whether it's pregnancy or cancer, both spouses experience it. In our case, I think my cancer has been harder on Kathy than on me. It's been an adventure that we both experience, albeit very differently. So this is Brad and Kathy Bright. Welcome to the God is Issue podcast, where I show God is the issue in every issue. Why? Because we can trace all our human problems to our view of God. If you find this podcast helpful, please remember to like and subscribe. And when subscribing, don't forget to click on the bell so you'll be notified whenever I post a new podcast. Now, my dad often said that when we know who God really is, we don't have problems. We only have opportunities to see God work. Now, let me say, cancer has certainly put that statement to the test.
It has.
Let me be completely transparent. There's nothing about this process that I enjoy. Nothing. But God made it clear to me early on in this cancer journey that He's my coach and that He's going to help use this to help conform me to the image of His dear Son. So whatever happens, I win. See, living with cancer brings incredible clarity to what I really value and how I want to invest my remaining time on this planet. So let's start with where my cancer is as of today. Now, another tumor is growing rapidly in my lower right hip bone. Technically, it's the ischium bone, for those of you who care. My doctor calls it the sit bone.
And can I say sit, S-I-T?
Sit bone, as you sit on it.
It can sound like something else, but it's not that.
Okay, S-I-T. I always thought the hip bone was one big bone, folks. Nope. It's 6 bones. Who knew? I must not have paid very close attention in high school biology class. That's all I can say. Now, this morning I began another round of radiation. Folks, this is my reality. Tumors will keep popping up, and we will keep zapping them as long as possible. The last time I had radiation, it wiped me out for about 2 weeks. Now, if you listen to my previous cancer update, you know that 18 months ago I went completely off the drug protocol that the doctors had recommended. The drugs were muddling my brain with a vengeance. At best, I could only think for a few hours every day, and then only with great effort. I wasn't living, I was existing. You know, I could handle the hot flashes and the exhaustion, but not the brain fog. The doctor said he understood and supported my decision, but he also warned me that going off the medication would shorten my life. I quit the meds that day. God has not called me to live as long as possible. He's called me to try to live as faithfully as possible. However, that's my perspective. I also want you to hear Kathy's side as well.
Frankly, it was a very hard one for me. I think God prepared me for the decision by allowing me to see how the medication was turning Brad into a shadow of himself. The day we met with the doctor, we had just returned from a dream vacation in the Mediterranean. Brad had struggled every day of the trip to get out of bed and just to be present. In some ways, it felt like I had already lost him. So, when the doctor said that his symptoms were caused by the medication, I knew exactly what Brad was going to do. However, supporting him in a decision that would shorten his time with me was not easy. I want Brad to live a quality life for as long as possible.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But I also want him to live with me as long as possible. As a spouse of a cancer patient, we live with this tension of letting the love of our life make the decisions they want to make, even if it isn't what we want, all the while being intimately affected by every one of those decisions. So it was around then that I remembered something that made this decision a no-brainer for me. You see, years ago, I had a friend who insisted that her terminally ill husband have a procedure that she wanted him to have, but he did not. She relentlessly prodded and prodded him to have the procedure. And so finally, he just gave in and had it. Unfortunately, the doctor nicked a nerve, and he endured the resulting pain until the day he died. I realized right then I did not want to do that to Brad.
Thank you again.
Yes. I don't want him to do something he doesn't want to do. And so I decided that I want his priorities to be my priorities. So we decided to take him off the medication. And I decided to embrace that choice. And I have to tell you, the last 18 months have been the best of our married life.
Amen. I agree. We have made it a priority to check off as many items on our bucket list as possible. If God extends my life, we'll just add to the bucket list. Now, the past 18 months, we have played hard and worked even harder.
That's right. We do not want to have any regrets. I tell my friends that cancer is a reality in our life, but it is not a shadow. I will not let cancer rob me of the joy of being with Brad today. Sometimes that choice comes easily, and at other times, I have to be honest, it's a battle. But it's a battle worth fighting. And it's a battle that, with God's daily help, is winnable. So now we're moving on into another chapter of our cancer journey.
Yes, we are. In addition to going through radiation, my doctors have strongly recommended I go back on the cancer drugs for at least 6 months. It should stop the growth of the cancer, at least for a while. However, I'll be taking a slightly different medication this time. My doctors think this modified drug will greatly lessen the brain fog. So,
you can pray that it does that.
actually, yeah, please do.
Please.
I'm going to give it a try. I hope they're right. I'll let you know how it goes. Now then, all that to say, if I miss doing a podcast or two here or there, it doesn't mean I'm on death's door, but it probably just means I'm very tired and I need to rest. I'm committed to running my race to the very end. My dad worked up until the week before he died. My father-in-law, Kathy's dad, worked up until 5 days before he died. They both went to glory with their boots on. That's my hope as well. Cancer has given us many opportunities to see God work while experiencing his incredible grace.
Amen.
Now, one of the special things I asked God for is that I would be able to meet my grandkids before I exit the planet. Now, well, on May 4th of this year, it looks like I'm going to meet my first granddaughter, Piper. What a joy.
Yes.
Now, my major project for this year is writing my dad's biography. Although 3 biographies on Bill Bright have already been published, they all failed to capture the secret of what made Bill Bright, Bill Bright. Yeah, if the next generation knows the secret, I believe they may well do more for the fulfillment of the Great Commission than any generation before them. My dad was on a radio talk show years ago. At one point, the host asked him, "Bill, what is the most important thing to teach another believer?" For a moment, he was stumped. But in the next instant, the answer exploded into his brain. His answer to that one question made all the difference. Folks, I'm a writer, but I've never attempted anything of this genre, so please pray that God gives me the ability to think clearly in the midst of the cancer. Kathy and I can testify that God gives strength and peace, joy, and meaning in every step of the journey. Someday we may do a podcast just telling the stories of his faithfulness these last few years and how we've seen him work. God really is the issue in every issue, including the way we experience cancer. This is Brad Bright and Kathy Bright. Thanks for joining us today. God bless.